Hello everyone. Thank you for coming back once again. I thought this would be the perfect time for us to spend some time together. You see, I'm here at Strathern, the family home, which actually belongs to my brother Harold Adrian and his dear wife. Well, it seems everybody has taken holiday, all in preparation of the upcoming holidays, and I did volunteer to help around Strathern and keep an eye on the staff and keep everything rolling in, so to say, and have it ready for the upcoming holidays. Tommy, of course, is going to be in London on contract, so it's my time. It's pretty dark out tonight. In fact, this is, I must say, in preparation of the holidays, this is a time of the year that can be quite frightening for all of us. I know we've spoken in the past, and I have brought a bunch of items that we may talk about today. And I know we've spoken in the past. We've had wonderful times recently with Halloween, and of course all the traditions that go with Halloween. And of course we have spoken about a lot of things that go with Halloween, such as ghosts, and of course something that we all seem to dabble in from time to time, seances, like, as I said, ghosts and ghost stories. But there are things in our everyday world that can seem quite frightening and quite macabre, so to say, that are in our everyday lives, whether we realize it or not. I thought, looking about here at Strathern, that it would be a wonderful time. As you can see, my brother has interesting things about the house, and I thought to grab them all and sit them about with me. And being that I'm here alone, yes, alone, Laddie's not here. In fact, with the storm outside, he has decided to go upstairs and hide, although he is my companion for this time at Strathern. Tonight, I suppose, he's going to stay under my bed. Well, talking about tales of the macabre. Well, many of us know that much of this has all been with us since the days of our grandparents and our great-grandparents. Now that we are in a new era, this the Edwardian era, going back to the early Victorian days, there's quite a bit there that is quite macabre in our everyday lives back then. Now, many, many years ago, at the time when our grandparents were quite young, it was much more in question if we would be able to make it, each of us, even with those of the upper class. It was hard, quite difficult, and much more difficult than it is now to survive winter, whether it be from sickness. In the lower classes, of course, everyone's always most concerned, and rightfully so, to make sure there's enough crops and make sure there's enough food for the winter. Without that, it could be quite frightening. And of course, everything gets dark very early now, and everyone needs to be home early. And it can be ahead of the holidays, a quite frightening time. Now, some of the things that I have with me today, as I said, look about, are in our everyday lives. For instance, ladies and gentlemen, of course you know, and I know you, as and anyone that has children, you of course are very careful and you keep things out of reach of the children. We have here, of course, many of our pharmacy from the doctor's surgery. Dr. Byers has been kind enough to let me have some of his extra medicines here to share with you. But these are things that you would see in his surgery that, if not kept out of reach of our children, can be quite dangerous. And of course, if you are having trouble seeing and you have visual impairment at times, as Aunt Lizzie does, it can be quite difficult and quite frightening if you grab the wrong medicine. Now I have about me here, is all these bottles. And this one in particular is a Clorox bleach, yes, bottle that could be quite dangerous for our children should they happen to come across it. Now, I do know there are families that allow the young ladies to help with the laundry, of course, because in many households it takes several days, washing and then drying and, of course, the ironing. But normally we would not wish for children under 10 to 12 years of age to be handling these bottles. And of course you don't want to get close to the top of the bottle, as it has quite a pungent aroma, a bleach that actually would burn the eyes. And I wanted to read you, these bottles are quite attractive to the children, I will say so, with the colors and their shapes. But what lies in our bottles in our everyday household can be quite frightening. And I'm going to read to you several of the medicines Dr. Byers has written down that are in these bottles and some things that are here on the table. Ephedrine, which is a stimulant for asthma, but can be quite dangerous should we be taking it or should someone ingest it that does not need that. It can make you quite nervous and race your heart. Your heart become racing, actually, and feel like it's going to jump right out of your chest. So you must be very, very careful. Now, of course, we've all heard of belladonna. And we're going to talk to about belladonna in several meanings. The name means beautiful lady, an extract from the nightshade plant. And of course, we use this. I tend not to, but I know a lot of lady friends that tend to use this to dilate their eyes because they are still trying to attract that certain gentleman to look more alluring. But once again, anything in a great deal and a great amount can be quite dangerous. This also can be used for colic, but is quite poisonous indeed. Now, there is one here that I'm sure we're all very familiar with. Strychnine, yes, highly toxic alkaloid. I may be saying this correctly. Highly toxic alkaloid. Can't quite read the Dr. Byers' writing. Always is hard to read a doctor's writing. Now, it is used to kill mice that tend to be about our homes and our gardens, and rats, of course. Yes. And of course, this, once again, very dangerous, very frightening, and in our everyday lives. This, if it is ingested by our children, if it is ingested by an adult, or as I said, poor Aunt Lizzie, she has trouble with her eyesight from time to time, and should she grab this bottle, unbeknownst to her, it can cause convulsions and eventually death. Yes. So the beetle that they have at the pharmaceutical at the surgery can ingest without sustaining harm. So, of course, never keep, which of course would help in this case, but never keep these items close to your larder for many reasons of which I've just said, and of course out of reach of children. Now we do have, and I do believe it is, Nellie is having trouble with her eyes once again. Oh, it is Lydia Pinkham's medicine. Now this, of course, ladies, is for us. And it's a tonic for ours, if you don't mind my saying, ladies, for those special times of the month where we're not feeling quite well. And it does help with the pains and the feminine issues, the female troubles that we have at this time of the month. And ladies, speaking to you as a lady, we all quite know well what those can be, so much to the point where at times we cannot leave our bed or our home for the day, or sometimes for an entire week. And you must be careful, of course, with Lydia Pinkham's medicine because, of course, there is also a great deal of alcohol in there. Excuse me. I can't quite pronounce all this. Alcohol, let me get it straight, in Lydia Pinkham's medication. So we must be very, very careful with that. So many other things. We have milk of magnesia for our stomachs, which has been around most of the 19th century as a remedy for, of course, all stomach and intestinal upsets. For myself, I take this in water for my indigestion. But as I said, all these bottles contain medications, and while they can be quite safe as long as you take them as Dr. Byers or your physician recommends, they're safe. But should you ingest accidentally, or your children, or again, persons with bad eyesight and might grab the wrong medication, or of course at night when the gas lights aren't giving us enough glow, you may grab the wrong bottle. Now here is many of the medications Dr. Byers has borrowed to me. And here we have the ephedrine that I spoke of. And as I said, this is great, and it's wonderful for helping with persons with asthma, but should you take a bit much of it, your heart will be racing, and that can frighten just about anyone to the point of madness. True. Well, some other things I wanted to talk about today besides dealing with all our medications. All about us, we see things of the macabre each and every day. As you know, ladies, when you are shopping the windows, of course, at Anderson and Macaulay's, you see many of the beautiful, very beautiful wax ladies, should I say. These would be mannequins. But do you know that many of your wax ladies and gentlemen that we have adorning our windows were actually made of persons that have modeled for these mannequins and these heads many years ago. Some of our wax models go back about 30 years. Now, some another area where these models have been used, and I wanted to bring this up to you. Now, Dr. Byers has shared some information with me, and I know you think this is rather strange. I'm holding a hand. This is a wax hand made out of the same wax as the wax sculpture here. And the wax hand, many of these hands are used to complete a figure. Now, when they make these figures in our windows, which of course we'll be seeing during the holidays, and should many of us travel to New York, we know how Macy's department store windows are quite popular. And you will see many of these figures in the windows. But Dr. Byers had also informed me that many of the wax figures for which many people have modeled for many years ago, and still to this day, are also used in training doctors for medications and surgery. Yes, because they look so becoming as a true human being and so real that they use these. They use these for when they work on the eyes, and when they're working on the abdomen. And in fact, ladies, for our troubles, female troubles, and of course when we are having our doctors trained to aid us in childbirth, there are, again, all these wax figures. So they're quite interesting. So I actually have a photograph that I shall show you, and it has, in the photograph, it has two of these hands on either side dressed with a cuff, and they represent the doctor's hands working on a patient, and you can see them working on the eyeball of the patient, and you'll see the wax head. So I'll be showing that to you. So it's quite interesting, and once again, quite macabre, so to say. Now, many things that we have about us, again, like I said, in everyday life can be frightening at times. For instance, there are traditions that we have. Now, when we have persons in our families, and when we encounter the passing and death in the families, there are many things of which I have found most unsettling. But once again, these are traditions that have started with our grandparents and continue on. Now, in regards to the passing away of a loved one, most persons, and especially those of the lower classes, and even some of the upper classes, they don't make a regular practice of taking many photographs. Normally, photographs are taken, of course, when a child is born, weddings, and then, of course, funerals. Yes, at funerals. And many of our deceased loved ones are photographed for the last time with their families, for lasting remembrance, or in their coffins where they are laid to rest before we all give our last respects and our best wishes before they are laid to rest. Now, a typical memorial card, funeral card, is normally for the adults, for the ladies and gentlemen. It is in black with gold lettering and gold adornment. Now, for the children, these would be in white. So for children, your mourning cards and your funeral cards literally are in white, and it's a very, should I say, elaborate mourning card. Some of them do have the photograph of the deceased loved one, and here we have one here from 1893, and as I said, it can be quite decorative, that our grandparents believed that was very, very important. And you have to remember, of course, with our grandparents, and even till now, where we make it, it seems to be a regular tradition, not with everyone, but with many people, that when someone passes, they also hold seances. As it's, I remember when my father passed away, so much unfinished business, should I say, and things that you wish to tell your loved one. And there are many persons that my mother, friends that my mother had, that had suggested seance to her when father had passed away to try communication. Many people do, and this is for comfort, to try to reach or send a message to your loved ones. And once again, this is a very macabre practice that's in our everyday lives. Many times they would use the Ouija board, the contact board, spirit board, should I say, to reach our deceased loved ones that have gone on before us. Now, something else, of course, that we also find quite important, and as I said, it is a lasting remembrance of your loved one before they pass. And then here we have 3 children, and I am sorry if there's any shine from that. We have 3 children, 3 brothers, 2 of which are mourning the death of their brother that's sitting on the chair. And we try to take photographs. Once again, this is going back to the times of our grandparents and our great-grandparents, trying to take photographs, lasting photographs of us with our children, and with, of course, our fathers, our mothers, and our spouses, should they pass away before us. So, well, we may find these quite unsettling. They are very macabre and part of our everyday life. So as I said, you truly don't need something such as the Halloween to bring a lot of this forward. It is very much in our everyday lives and can be quite frightening, especially at this time of year when it gets dark quite early. Now, when a loved one passes away, there are several types of cloths that are used and fabrics that are used and permissible at this time. Now, it is mostly, of course, all taffetas with not much shine to them, black, and of course black velvet, literally black everything for mourning. Now, for laying a child to rest, most times when you lay a child to rest, you would, if it's a very young child, you would put on their first set of shoes, all the shoes they would have worn should they had managed the first months of their life. And then, of course, many of your children that may have passed, and so sorry if I'm upsetting anyone, but once again, I'm just speaking of our everyday lives and things that are in our everyday lives. We don't realize it can be quite unsettling. When laying a child to rest, especially a baby, they're very pure, and as I said, the white mourning card, the remembrance cards are quite suitable for laying a baby to rest, usually under 6 months. And so it's always well that we lay them, boys and girls, in the white cotton lawn, the white crinoline, very nicely in their final resting bed. And upsets me a bit to talk about that, but it is part of our everyday life. And here, if you have an older child, say a little girl, toddler, her black Mary Jane shoes would be, and I have them stuffed in here. These actually belong to a friend, and I have them some paper. They were given to me as a remembrance a long time ago. I had lost my friend when I was a little girl. But with the straps and all of these would be quite proper to lay a little girl to rest, and a little boy, of course, with the high button boots, and then of course, if you wanted, you may have a special toy or their rattle or toy or a special bear. That, of course, would be laid to rest with your child. And these are all proper traditions and in good taste. And, of course, here are some more things that you would lay about. The black lace, of course, this is for older children. And then if you happen to have a velvet suit of clothes for your older child, and if I could manage to have so many things here I wish to share with you. This here, and this actually is an old mourning jacket that my mother wore to many of her family that had passed on, and this would be proper for a young lady to wear to mourning. And you see, it's quite like us ladies, our clothing in dark, either a very dark black or a black, almost a indigo or navy blue, almost to the point of black, with the black buttons. So a young lady would be proper in wearing this. And also, should she pass, you can either lay her to rest in white or the dark velvet would be most proper. Now, speaking about the colors, we always will start out with the black. And ladies, for those of you who have lost your husbands and your fathers, it is most proper to have the black veil, be that silk, be it a net, over you for the 2 years that you are in mourning. And actually, that would be about 1.5 years. During the very first 6 months to a year is your heaviest and darkest veil. That would be a very dark silk that you may wear over yourself. And then later, you may, in the next part, the first part of the second year, you could wear the net, which would be proper. And then finally, in the last 6 months of the 2 years, many of us, it is proper that you can maybe out in public without your veil. And in the last 6 months of mourning, we see a lot of lavenders, such as this, very, of course, dark lavenders and grays. That would be proper for mourning. Once again, with the passing, we all endure of our family members from time to time. It's a reminder that we're all here for a limited amount of time and to make the most out of every day.